What's happening, fam? L.A.R movement, still moving. Book entitled Lessons from a Non-Custodial Father at Amazon Kindle Create Space. Link is in the description box below as usual. And yes, new edition. Um, Race and sports. I'm gonna do this in different sports because the NFL is having a racial issue. Uh, Race has always had a racial background. I think I did a video on this a long time ago, but I'm going to use certain things from then to now. Well, first and foremost, sports is, and I've said this before, is one of the fairest forms of capitalism in an American sense because everybody knows the rules to the games that are being played. You can't change the rules midstream to suit you. So either you're better than your opponent, or you have a better game plan than your opponent when in competition with somebody or against another group. So at the end of the day, the best man wins, or the best plan wins. The reason why race in sports is synonymous is because it's the fairest way to see who's the best. Because whether people like to admit it or not, there are 7 types of intelligence. And one thing about sports is it's really chess, speed chess, but using your body and mind. Because you have to do something in a short amount of time, and you have to outsmart somebody in a short amount of time. It's not just about being more physical or being a physical specimen or being more athletic. No matter what you say, you still have to outthink a person, but in a quick time span. So going back to race and sports, of course, Jesse Owens, the Hitler thing, right? Berlin. You gotta. He wanted to be the master race. Jesse Owens messed that up. And you would think, you know, that lets you know how synonymous this stuff is because people use sports as a platform to say who's the better group. Now, in America, my group seems to dominate this area. And usually it's because, there was a time where we didn't. Because poverty and lack of opportunity made people gravitate to sports industries. This, you know, this is why Jews used to be heavy in the sports and entertainment. Though we talk about a lot of blacks being in sports and entertainment now, part of the Jewish culture, Sandy Koufax, baseball players, boxers. Um, I'm not sure. I don't keep up with golf, but it was baseball, boxing. I'm sure it was football, but it didn't generate as much money then. But they had a history of that. Of course, they got a long-standing history in the entertainment field. So it's a way to get out of poverty if you can make it. So, and when you get there, you're supposed to build an economic base off of that. I think that's where we're at now. You know, but we've actually had a longer time of dominating that realm. Now, when it comes to the fairness of it, like take football for example. The last frontier for domination in football is the quarterback position. This is why the Colin Kaepernick thing is so such a big issue, because you got to understand Tom Brady is gonna retire. Drew Brees is gonna retire in the near future. You know what I mean? And Peyton Manning is gone. So the face of the league is probably, in my opinion, right now, the face of the league would probably be Odell Beckham Jr. Not even a quarterback. But then you got Cam Newton. Then you got Russell Wilson. Then you got Jameis Winston. I think if you want to bring race into it, I think Derek Carr will be probably knight, their knight in shining armor. I think he's a good quarterback. I think he's a real good quarterback. Um, this is why when you see the draft, how long ago would you get a Jared Goff or a Carson Wentz for some small school be the number one pick as a quarterback? That the Deshaun Watson won, because it used to be you win a national championship, that must make you the man, right? Too many black quarterbacks doing that now, and the white quarterbacks from those big schools weren't really as talented as the black players around them, so it creates a problem. You know, um, but when you're in that position, if you can't control who's coming up next, you try to control the front office positions around these people, so you can control if they're on your team, how much they get, you know, what they need to do for you to be on your good side, the coaches, staff, all that stuff. That's race in sports. Um, you try to control the narrative. If you see a black player do something, whether it's positive or negative, it's not held to the same standard as if a white player did something, whether it's positive or negative in football. Um, though I respect Tom Brady and Bill Belichick as a masterful coach and a great quarterback, they have a history of cheating. You, you put a black quarterback in that position and a black coach as Bill Belichick, he'll be vilified, and they'll both be vilified from now to eternity as cheaters. Just saying. Um, the same thing you could say goes for basketball. You know, ow, now it's not really, it's been dominated by so many African American players or black American players so long that the best, the next best thing is you got to get foreigners of all groups and backgrounds to compete. And I think this started with the Dream Team. In perfect honesty, if the NBA players would have kept their dream teams going and smashing people in the Olympics, you wouldn't have these foreigners come here. But at the same time, that's a good thing to establish if the world's catching up globally to us or not, whether you know it or not, because it's a racial thing in that. Because they want to get new faces because they don't want to see our faces. People don't want black people to be your kids' heroes for every lifetime. That's the point. And you can see this in baseball. I've said it numerous times. Baseball hasn't been fun since the Wizard retired. Not to say I used to be a baseball fan. I got much respect for Cal Ripken Jr., the big unit, all the, Greg Maddux, Tom Glavine, the pitchers that made they got to 300 wins. Um, Jim Thome for his longevity. People seem to forget stuff like that. But Bagwell, Biggio. But at the same time, I was also a kid when they were gentrifying baseball for young black kids in Chicago. I talked about that when it came to the Jackie Robinson Club, Jackie Robinson West All Stars, because I remember being a kid and when we were beating all the white kids, or my friends were beating all the white kids, they disbanded the league, and this had went on everywhere that that I had been to. And now when you look at baseball, it's relevant in some ways, but not really, because I think at heart people don't believe the best people are playing because the best athletes aren't necessarily on the diamond anymore. And it is what it is. You know, Same thing with tennis. If Serena Williams has his baby and wins a Grand Slam when she gets back, I think she breaks the record. So the winningest tennis player of all time will be her. you know, Tiger Woods failed at that in golf because he was too busy chasing chasing white chicks at Denny's. But it's a lot of pressure involved, which brings me to boxing, which I have a boxing podcast with my man Angelo. Uh, Cheap Seats Boxing Show, iTunes. We just started putting it on YouTube recently. But boxing is a race war because it's an individualized sport. You know, Blacks always gonna rock with blacks for the most part. You know, Hispanics gonna rock with Hispanics. Whites gonna rock with whites. Asians gonna rock with Asians. And you'll see a lot of vicarious living through vicarious living, love or hate through people's sycophant way of being a fan because of race. A lot of racial hate, a lot of disparaging comments about people because of that. But I'll talk to you later. Peace.